Jimmy.
Ed.
Hey, darling.
I'd give you a hug.
I can see it. I can see
I'll
it.
just hug the screen. There we go.
You're just a natural born intimate person.
That's right.
I have a yoga teacher that's 60 years old. He's from Paris, and he has been teaching me for 3 years.
A lady said yesterday, you know, I've known that yoga teacher for 10 years and I don't have any idea who he is because he never reveals himself.
Ah.
And I think it's really true.
You know, I went through the partnership course, and I think you were one of my partners when I did that, and he was a partner too.
Okay.
So I got to talk to 20 people for a year, and it seems like there's a big range of willingness to participate.
Yep.
I don't know about Frank, but it seems like some people are willing to participate in skiing, but they're not willing to participate in hugging.
Right. Well, you know, if you don't participate in life, what's the point?
That's right.
Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my
Tom. Hey, Tom. Jim. That's the easy one. Actually, it's Thomas Love, but
Yeah.
Hey, Kresho. This is Jim.
Hi, Jim. You look totally different.
Together?
You look different without the frost in your beard.
Absolutely. So do you.
So it's a well-cultivated look, you know.
We're part of the gray beard generation.
There's Tom.
hi,
Tom, hi, Tom. I'm
I'm
Jim.
Kresho's nephew.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Kresho's sister's boy.
Yeah, there you go.
It's probably been, Bobby, what do you think, 7 or 8 years since I saw you, Kresho?
Oh, probably. Yeah, well, last time we saw each other was in the North Star in Tahoe.
Gives me a chance to practice forgiveness. For you people who are seeing this on YouTube or somewhere, my name is Ed Epperson. I'm 80 years old. I have Parkinson's disease, and that's what makes my hand shake. The thing that I'd like to have us consider is that everything has a beginning, like civil rights for black people, women having the Me Too movement, everything has a beginning. So I would like to acknowledge that most Americans, I believe most Americans are afraid to die. And dying is the simplest thing in the world. As a veterinarian, I saw many animals die, and it wasn't a big process. It wasn't a big deal. You know, they just died one way or another. So I don't think that dying is a major problem. But the hospital expenses and the hospital procedure that they're doing on people now, it's something that indicates that we're really afraid to die. So I would like to offer you guys an opportunity to say something like, Ed, I'm glad you aren't dead yet, but since you are going to die, we'd like to say thank you for whatever. Who'd like to go first?
I'll go first.
Janis. Janis, book out.
So, Ed, you're not dead yet. Since you are going to die eventually, it's our chance to acknowledge who you are for us and who you are for the world. And I'm going to add something too, which is what I'm carrying forward on your behalf or in honor of you. First of all, personally, I've known you since, I don't know, ever since I've done seminars, which is 1997. I've seen you around, and you and I have gotten closer more recently. Every time you were in the room, what I was present to was genuine contribution to other people, a genuine desire that the people in your life have a great life, and a certain level of you're completely unwilling to settle for anything less than that. So for you, it was like, it's only going to go one way, which is you get to have a great life. And that's who you've always been for people. So every time you're in the room, it's present. And then beyond that, I've talked with you, and I've done a body presentation. I've experienced that part of what you're committed to in life, and having people be able to accept and own their own sexuality. And not just their sexuality, but their body, just the way it is and just the way it isn't, including sexuality, but also including the physicalness and the function of their body, and the freedom that that provides people to own that. Your willingness to say anything, to sort of wake people up into the reality of their body and their physicalness in the world is so liberating. It really, like, instantly, the way you are with people instantly wakes them up to where they are right now, and has a certain acceptance of that. There's nobody like you. And when you go, there will be a missing. That will be missing in the world. That unique way will be missing. But at the same time, the contribution that you've been to everybody will carry forward in them. So what I'm specifically committed to carrying forward is waking people up to where they are right now, in their body, in their experience, and having it be just okay exactly the way it is, and then asking the question, what's next? Like, what do you really want to create? And then I just want to say probably the biggest contribution, like one of the biggest contributions you've made to me was when you said about my butt, you said I could take it or leave it. And the way you said it was so cool, because after that moment, because there was somebody else in the room that said, oh, that's the most beautiful butt I've ever seen. And you were like, I could take it or leave it. And it was this profound moment in my life where I realized that my body was my body, and people perceived it however they did. Some people liked it, some people didn't, and none of that mattered. It was very liberating. And anyway, I just love you, and I love who you are in the world, and I will carry you forward.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Very good. That's very good.
Who's next? Jim, you want to go?
Sure.
Okay.
I remember the first time I saw you, it was one of these landmark events. I was pretty new to landmark. I thought, this is a really broad age range kind of group. Who's this old guy in here? Now I am the old guy. Much less somebody that I perceive, well, this guy's on his way out a long time ago, which was absolutely not true. And you made such a contribution to my life in just being straight with me and calling me and engaging me. At a time when I was depressed, at times, I'll say that, at times when I was depressed, suicidal, in thought process, and you would enliven me and engage me back to my life and give me things to contemplate that took me out of that funk and out of myself and brought me back to being present. I remember you handed me one time this card that said Socrates Cafe, and I thought, well, at least he knows he's a wise guy, and you are a wise guy, which is a good thing. But absolutely, some of the things that you taught me, the body presentation was amazing, and I've been able to share that technology, shall we call it, with others and help them become more present to being absolutely okay with who they were, not ashamed, yeah. And it certainly has helped me to realize I got nothing to be ashamed about. I'm a living process. And one other thing that I always perceived is your background in history as a veterinarian and working with various and sundry meat machines. You seem to approach life on a much more practical basis in terms of we're alive and then we're not. But over and above that, you brought the spirit into the room every time I would have a phone conversation with you or engage you, and yeah, I'm really glad.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Jim, you want to go next?
Sure. I guess it was probably somewhere between 15 and 18 years ago that I was out in Salt Lake City skiing, and I'm in the locker room getting my boots on. I'm by myself. Then this guy comes up to me and says, hi, I'm Ed. I said, okay. He says, are you skiing by yourself today? And I said, sure. Yes, I am. And he said, well, would you like to ski together? I said, sure. So we started skiing. We didn't start skiing. We got on the chair And we're riding up the chair at Brighton. And about halfway up the chair, the first chair, I said to Ed, "Did you take the S training?" And he says, "Yeah, how did you know?" I said, "Well, from your language. It's not every day I come across somebody who speaks that particular language." And so Ed and I became friends. We started skiing, and then I went out to Snow Basin, and Ed came by a couple days later. And then after that, every year we skied together. And the ski trips, when Ed is in the room, are very, very different. He asks these questions that actually make us think about things, and not just kind of waste time and fill the airspace with kind of what I would simply call bullshit conversations. He was just like this mystery man who would show up and ask these questions. And I just loved our conversations, and I loved the interactions that we had. And after Ed would leave, they would say to me, "Who was that man?" And he is such a unique guy. Janis?
Yes.
She said that Ed was unique, and he really is. You know, I have no other friends who are anything like Ed. And, you know, I've always valued our conversations. And I know Ed for the last maybe 3 years has been talking about, you know, the end of times for him. And I don't like it when he talks like that, because I don't want to have a life where I can't have Ed call me up and ask me these questions and tell me which movies to watch and what books to read. And that's, you know, it's become part of my life to interact with Ed. And I don't see him, you know, I haven't seen Ed for about 1.5 years now. And, but I talk to him, you know, every couple of weeks. He gives me a call, and I call him once in a while. So he is a very special person. And he impacts people as he moves through life. You know, whether it's just walking up to somebody in a ski shop, or, you know, he walks up to people when we get on a chair, on a gondola. His first thing is, "Hi, I'm Ed." And then the conversation starts. And that doesn't happen with anyone else. So, you know, thanks for being my friend. Thanks for asking me to ski that day.
Thanks for
And
that.
I do have an Ed story I need to tell later.
Go ahead.
Please, yeah.
All right.
It has to do with Ed not being nice to me. I was remodeling my kitchen, and I had completely gutted the kitchen. I took down all the cabinets. So I'm working like 15-hour days, and I had to finish it by Thanksgiving. So somewhere around early November, Ed gives me a call and says, "Hey, there's a YouTube video I want you to watch." I say, "Okay, what is it?" He says, "Well, next Valentine's Day, there's going to be a worldwide movement to make people aware of the violence toward women." I said, "Okay, I'll watch it." So about 10 days later, he calls me up and he says, "Did you watch that video?" I said, "Well, Ed, you know, I've been working 15-hour days trying to do my kitchen. I just haven't gotten around to it." So Ed says, "Well, Jim, let me tell you a story." And I said, "Okay." He says, "Well, when I was young, I was, you know, living on the farm, the ranch, and our neighbor, we can call him Otis, came over, and my daddy was painting the barn. And Otis came over and said to my daddy, can I borrow your mule?" And my dad said, he thought about it, he said, "Well, Otis, no, you can't borrow my mule. You see, I'm painting my barn right now." And Otis said, "Well, what does painting your barn have to do with you not lending me your mule?" And my dad said, "Well, if you don't want to do something, one excuse is as good as another. I tell you, that was like a slap across the face. I said, okay, I'll watch the damn video. But that had a profound influence because it made me realize how often we make excuses about things. And you all laughed because you understood exactly what the point was. And it totally changed. I don't give excuses anymore. I just stopped doing it.
Kresho came all the way from California to tell us what you're going to tell us. Let's hear it.
Hey, my name is Kresho Lucars, and I'm also was a veterinarian. And I met Ed in early 80s in Snowbird in Utah. And one morning, early in the morning, about 7:30 or so, close to 8, we are preparing to go to the breakfast, and kind of everybody's waking up and drinking coffee. And here comes the man in leotards. At that time, he didn't know that was a running suit or whatever. Nobody wore those funny little pants and things like that. And a blue Adidas running shirt, running shoes, which are designed just for country running. And he has a light jacket on, it's still dark outside. And he comes in, he's open icicles. And I said, what the hell did you do? And he said, I'm coming back from my 5-mile or 3-mile run. Then Ed told me where he was from in Austin, Texas, and so forth and so on. And I told him I was from Stockton, California at the time. And we hit it off and started talking. And that was where we really met first time. And then ever since we skied, first with a group for 10 years or so. And then later on we skied ourselves. So what Ed did for me, I came to the United States and I didn't speak any English, and so I picked up language in a clinic, and I massacred the language beautifully. I mean, just really worked it pretty hard. And then Ed was always commenting about how bad my English was. He was introducing me to the forum and training. It took about 13 years. 14 years, there you go. It took 14 years to get me into it. And I finally went and I took the forum, and I took the rest of the leadership course, because I found that this was really good. And what Jim said on technology, this is really a technology of speaking. To me, that was very, very important, because it made my English really a tool. It was helping me in business a lot and helping me in a overall communication. I never was shy, so shyness was not my issue, but my issue was how to present myself and how to control my own environment using the language. And so that was really, really beneficial, and improved my relationship with the people in general, and so that was a good time. So that was, and after I met him, I also remember telling him, because he was divulging some secrets of his job, and he was giving me some numbers in his production, in his relationship with his employees, and I couldn't believe it. I said, this is a bunch of shit. I can't believe this guy. So, and he said, just come and see me, just like that. And I said, okay. I spent 2 or 3 days with him in a clinic and improved my business a lot, because there were some thinking. Ed was, people, you probably don't know that, but he was instrumental before computers, that he transferred the value of working people in a clinics, the value from time into money, and developed an article. So that article was published in one of the more influential books on management, and so that was another thing. It gave him a tremendous amount of credibility. He is the one person that made me realize that physicality is always before psychology part. So we are physical beings, and then we are psychological. It's not the other way around. And I had at first I was kind of having a hard time, because I changed the culture, and I kind of started believing that maybe I'm not psychological enough, and maybe too physical enough, because I come from a communist country and all these things, and to me, where's the beef is the only question I have. But then all the anecdotes, I mean, I have more than you guys can even think of it in this 35 years. Like you said, you're not a good skier enough, or I go in a hotel and in the middle of the winter in Tahoe, and where the hell is Ed? Oh, Ed is practicing tennis. Say what, tennis? So he has a racket, and he goes on the end of the hallway, but it's a little bit bigger area, and he's practicing his his backhands and forehands for future whatever tennis time thing. I mean, that only Ed can do that. And then his true, genuine care. Probably one of the big issues of having a friends when we get older, the most important part is to be able to see the friendship as a mirror. At that point, we can correct ourselves in thinking whatever that is at the moment. And so that was the value that you brought in. Phone calls are about that. Your go to see the movie is about that. It's a mirroring your how you do it and where you will stand with it. So you were not in the picture. You allowed me to create my own mirror in order to see. So I appreciate that.
But on the radio this morning at 6 o'clock, this lady said, we might consider ourselves as people to be a living and breathing signpost. So if you think about all the signposts we've seen, like don't go, don't come here, do come here, one-way street, stop signs and go signs and entree, all like that. It seems like if we recognize ourselves as a living, breathing signpost, then we could sort of have a middle ground where we could speak out from there. So my living, breathing signpost might be, wake up, or let's wake up, or what can we do to wake ourselves up, or something like that. Tom, you want to go next?
Okay, so yeah, I met you through my uncle Kresho, also skiing, Utah, Salt Lake City. I believe it was Alta, and I wasn't 20. I was 26, I believe, 27 maybe, at the time. And I just started my first real job down in Los Angeles, and I was probably one of the 1 in or 9 in 10 or 19 in 20 that didn't like you when we met. You know, you have no respect for societal norms. You know, the way that people are supposed to behave politely to one another, and so yeah, I was kind of put off by that. But I remember you on the chairlifts talking about words and what certain words mean to me. And I remember you chastised me for saying I know that too much. So apparently I knew it all back then. And you know, and you were right. I did know it all back then. So I think I acquired a little more humility, but you know, arrogance of youth and all that. But then I subsequently moved to Austin for just by chance, and I very much enjoyed our lunches that we've had over the last 16 years or so.
How did those come about?
You'd call me. Yeah, it was all initiated by you, and those lunches would often include a word or a movie or a book on a little slip of paper, as you mentioned, and I really do enjoy those. But at the same time, you know, we've also talked about you overstepping the bounds of civility sometimes, not civility, but norms, and getting kicked out of book people, being banned from book people for life. So I sometimes try to suggest that, you know, maybe you dial it back a little bit, but eventually I think I can count myself in one of those, that 1 in 10 that likes you. So you brought me around, and I appreciate your time.
Someone said something I enjoyed. They said, I can't tell you how to succeed, but I can tell you how to fail every time, and it's to try to please everybody.
Yeah.
To some degree, master not having a relationship about pleasing people.